There are moments when a person stands before the mirror of their own existence and suddenly realizes a chilling truth. It wasn't the world that rejected them, it was they who rejected their own potential to become something greater. Many people go through life believing that ability is fixed, that intelligence, talent, or creativity are predetermined gifts bestowed at birth. And when failure appears, like a mirror reflecting their weaknesses, they avoid it, protect their ego, and whisper, "I'm just not good at this." But others, a rare few, look at failure and see a doorway. Not a door that closes, but one that opens into an unexplored frontier. They still hurt, they still fear, they still doubt, but they continue forward. That difference creates the divide between what Carol S. Dweck calls the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. One believes ability is destiny. The other believes ability can be expanded. And that divide shows up not only in learning, but also in love, careers, dreams, resilience, and the meaning we assign to our lives. In the shadows of doubt and fear of failure, people often imprison themselves with silent judgments no one else can see. Children praised for being smart usually grow into adults who are afraid of challenges. They fear losing the label, fear that one test or one mistake could expose their brilliance as nothing more than a fragile shell. But children praised for effort, for perseverance, for the way they continue learning, adjusting, and trying, grow up with a stronger psychological spine. They carry the belief that every skill can be nurtured, developed, and expanded. Dweck once wrote, "Becoming is better than being. Who you are becoming matters more than who you already are." A fixed mindset seeks proof to protect identity. It avoids challenges that might reveal imperfection. It compares, competes, and becomes haunted by judgment. In difficulty, it retreats. In failure, it sees finality. The growth mindset sees challenge as nourishment. It doesn't ask, "Am I talented?" It asks, "What can I learn from this?" When obstacles arise, it stays with them, observing, adapting, trying again, until it breaks through. In its world, failure isn't a complete stop, but a comma that opens into new meaning. Imagine an athlete standing at the starting line of a crucial competition. One believes victory belongs only to those born gifted. He trembles, afraid of judgment, hoping only to finish without exposing weakness. Beside him stands another athlete. In his eyes, this race is not a test of worth, but a chance to see how far he has come. He doesn't run to prove perfection, but to see how close he can get to his evolving potential. Two bodies, two environments, two beating hearts. Yet the mindset makes their journeys unfold like two different worlds. One world shrinks. The other expands. If you're listening to this now, perhaps some part of you has heard a voice within that says, "I'm not smart enough. I'm not the type who succeeds. I can't do that. That's just who I am." Those aren't truths, they're habits. The human brain is not a stone. It is flexible, adaptive, alive, capable of restructuring, rewiring, rebuilding, through what science calls neuroplasticity. When we repeat an action, a skill, or a challenge, the brain responds. It strengthens pathways, forms new ones, and learns. Human change is not only biological, it is also driven by belief. Belief can imprison, but belief can also liberate. For centuries, success was viewed as a linear progression. Some had it, while others didn't. But the more profound truth is this: success is a spiral. Sometimes you return to where you started. Sometimes you break. Sometimes silence replaces progress. Yet with every turn of the spiral, if you keep going, you rise. People with a growth mindset do not chase perfection. They commit to progress, and progress, even slow, quiet, imperfect progress, is a force no failure can defeat. And if you listen closely, you may feel something subtle shifting inside you, as if an old door is opening just slightly. Behind it waits a single question: what if I try just a little more? In that moment, you are no longer defined by your past. You begin to see the future not as an inheritance, but as something you can shape. That is the moment a new mindset is born, softly, quietly, yet irreversibly. There are moments when a person begins to recognize the gap between what they are and what they could become. And a strange feeling emerges, both compelling and frightening. It is the call of potential, a call that is not loud, yet strong enough to make the heart tremble, echoing within so that one can no longer remain at ease with standing still. But this path is not built by chance. It begins with awareness, realizing that ability is not a limit, but a starting point. As Carol Dweck wrote, "The view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you live your life. The belief you choose, whether consciously or unconsciously, determines how you face challenges, respond to criticism, nurture your talents, and ultimately, how far you allow yourself to rise." In a fixed mindset, praise becomes a curse. When someone hears repeatedly that they're talented, they begin to think that talent must be proven, rather than challenged. When confronted with difficulty, instead of asking, "What can I learn from this?" they ask, "If I fail, will I still be recognized?" And a single moment of inadequacy can close the mind like a door afraid of light. By contrast, a growth mindset does not seek evidence to protect the self, it seeks opportunities to expand. There, failure is just information, feedback is fuel, and imperfection is not shameful but a space to grow. There is a truth that few dare to face. Most of the limits in life do not come from the outside world, but from the inner narratives we tell ourselves. When a child gets a math problem wrong, a fixed mindset says, "I'm not smart." A growth mindset says, "I don't understand yet, but I will learn." Those two small words, "not yet," can transform the entire trajectory of the mind. Dweck refers to this as the power of mindset language, a language that shapes the self. A tiny phrase, yet carrying hope, perseverance, and the awareness that the path of learning is always open. And like a seed, a growth mindset does not sprout instantly. It needs time, the acceptance of mistakes, the space to try, adjust, fail, and rise again, over and over. In relationships, mindset also defines maturity. Those with a fixed mindset often perceive criticism as an attack, differences as threats, and love as fleeting in the presence of flaws. A growth mindset, on the other hand, views love as a journey of mutual learning, a space where people can change, heal, and expand their hearts. The same applies to careers. A leader with a fixed mindset hires those inferior to protect their position. A leader with a growth mindset seeks talent greater than their own, for they aim not to preserve power, but to foster progress. As Dweck pointed out, exceptional people are not born with talent, but with passion for learning. It is not innate ability that creates greatness, it is the attitude toward learning, toward challenges, and toward the path yet to be formed. If you listen closely, you will notice a quiet rule operating in every journey. The more one tries to prove oneself, the smaller the mind becomes. The more one focuses on learning, discovering, and exploring, the more the mind expands, flexes, and achieves what once seemed impossible. And at the moment a person learns to face mistakes instead of fleeing them, they begin to touch a more profound understanding. Failure does not define value, it reveals direction. No one is born knowing how to succeed. Success is the result of countless retries, countless adjustments, countless moments when one could have given up but chose to continue. At specific points in their lives, some people have stood before the dreams they wanted to pursue but convinced themselves they lacked the ability, time, or luck. The truth is, they were not lacking talent, they lacked a mindset that allowed them to become a different version of themselves. And here, a quiet but powerful transformation occurs. Not the question, "Am I good enough?" but the question, "How much am I willing to learn?" When a person begins to ask the right question, life begins to open up. So if, deep in your heart, you now feel a subtle movement, a call, an urge to become a stronger, deeper version of yourself, know that it is not an illusion. It is the flow of inner evolution, a call to step out of the old self, out of invisible labels, out of limiting beliefs that have bound you for too long. And the very moment you decide to keep learning, keep trying, keep moving forward, A fixed mindset no longer binds you. You are entering the journey of those who build the future, with each choice, each action, each small but persistent thought. A journey that does not require perfection, only persistence. When a growth mindset begins to take root, the path ahead does not become easier, but the meaning of every step changes. Challenges that once made a person want to turn away now become invitations to growth and development. Fears that once clouded the mind now transform into motivation to refine oneself. And what was once seen as failure becomes merely a stopping point. A signal, a necessary part of the journey toward growth and development. In her book, Carol Dweck highlights a truth that many spend a lifetime coming to understand. In the growth mindset, failure is not a verdict, it is a path. Failure is not a judgment, it is a path. And when a person truly grasps this, the very nature of life shifts. Everything stops revolving around proving one's worth and becomes a journey of constant exploration of potential. No more masks of perfection. No more avoidance of the unknown. No more fear of criticism or judgmental eyes. Instead, the mind becomes open enough to learn from every victory and mistake. Flexible enough to adapt, strong enough not to retreat in the face of greater challenges. In education, the contrast between the two mindsets becomes especially clear. A student with a fixed mindset, when given a difficult assignment, immediately thinks, "This is beyond my ability." But a student with a growth mindset reacts differently. "This challenges me, I want to try." Dweck noted that students with a growth mindset tend to seek out more challenging questions because they are not afraid. They use them as tools to strengthen their intellect. Curiosity becomes fuel. Effort becomes language. Learning becomes an endless process, with no final endpoint. The same applies in sports. Legendary athletes are not those who never fall. They are the ones who always rise. Adjust, learn, and continue. Talent is just the starting point. Mindset is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Michael Jordan once said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." It is not success that makes a legend, it is their relationship with failure. A fixed mindset views failure as a source of shame. A growth mindset sees failure as a message. There is still more to learn. And from these messages, excellence is built, brick by brick, effort by effort, through persistence that never yields. In the world of work and creativity, mindset is also the key that shapes the future. Those with a growth mindset constantly ask themselves, "How can I get better? How can I develop this skill? What do I not yet know? How can I learn it?" Those with a fixed mindset only ask, "What do others think of me? What if I fail? Will this make me look bad?" One focuses on the path, the other focuses on reputation, and from there, their destinies diverge. Perhaps the deepest aspect of a growth mindset does not lie in effort, talent, or achievement. It lies in the meaning of becoming. Because one day, a person realizes that life is not a competition to prove worth, but a constant invitation to evolve, not to surpass others, but to surpass one's former self. At that moment, self-esteem no longer depends on victories, it depends on the ability to keep learning and keep moving forward. Confidence no longer rests on luck or talent, it rests on perseverance, flexibility, and the acceptance that the journey is imperfect, but always worthwhile. And when this mindset takes root, a subtle yet powerful shift occurs in how a person sees themselves. No longer, "Who am I?" but, "Who am I becoming?" No longer, "Am I enough?" but, "How much am I willing to learn?" No longer, "What if I fail?" but, "If I don't try, where will I remain?" Perhaps even now, you carry a dream unfulfilled, held back by fear, doubt, past failures, or labels that someone else placed on you, which you believed to be true. But labels are not destiny. Failure is not the end. Limits are not facts, they are habits of thought. If there is one thing a growth mindset wants you to remember, it is this: you are capable of more, not because you already are, but because you can become. You can be more than yourself, not because you are ready, but because you have the capacity to grow. The journey is not over, it is only just beginning. When a person begins to witness the power of a growth mindset, the next challenge is not understanding, it is applying. Knowledge can spark change, but only action can transform change into character. And here, a profound truth emerges. A person does not become a new version of themselves through awareness alone, but through repeated choices every day. There is no perfect moment, no eternal inspiration, no flawless circumstance. There is only the present moment, always demanding an answer, continue or stop. Carol Dweck emphasizes, effort is not a punishment, it is what unlocks potential. Effort is not a punishment, it is the key that opens the door to ability. Yet many fear effort, not because they are lazy, but because, in a fixed mindset, effort is seen as a sign of a lack of ability. They believe that those who are truly gifted do not need to try. This belief has caused too many talents to go to waste, too many dreams to be buried before being tested, and too many people to lose the versions of themselves they could have become. On the other hand, a growth mindset sees effort as a natural part of the journey. No one expects to grow without facing challenges. No one builds skill without repetition, monotony, and even fatigue. And no one perfects themselves without confronting limits they once believed were insurmountable. But what makes the growth mindset extraordinary is not effort alone, it is the meaning behind effort. Effort with purpose, effort with direction, effort fueled by the belief that every step brings one closer to a stronger version of themselves. In her book, Dweck recounts the stories of people who learn to receive feedback, not as an attack on the self, but as a map pointing to areas for improvement. But this is never easy. Feedback touches the deepest parts of the ego: fear of inadequacy, fear of judgment, fear of being seen while unfinished. The truth is, none of us enters the world perfected. The essence of life is learning. And feedback, when approached with a growth mindset, becomes a gift sometimes hard to accept, but always necessary to move forward. Those with a growth mindset often ask, what am I not seeing? What perspective have I yet to understand? What feedback can help me improve? Not that they are immune to pain, but they are resilient enough to endure the imperfection of themselves while becoming better. The most potent aspect of a growth mindset is not only the ability to achieve, but the way it reshapes a person's relationship with themselves. In a fixed mindset, people judge themselves by results. In a growth mindset, people judge themselves by the process they're going through, rather than by the outcome. One may not yet be skilled, but they are learning. One may not yet be strong, but they are building strength. One may not yet have become, but they are progressing, day by day. Those with a growth mindset learn to love the journey, not because it is easy, but because it is true. For within that truth, one lives entirely, not avoiding, not pretending, not wearing a mask of perfection. And then a miracle happens. From someone who once feared failure, they become a seeker of challenges. From someone who once sought to prove themselves, they become someone who seeks to explore themselves. From someone who once avoided difficulty, they become someone who perseveres through it. This is not a temporary change, it is a restructuring of identity. Once the growth mindset takes root, a person no longer lives to avoid fear, but to step toward potential. Yet this journey poses a profound question. After all, what is a person striving for? Not to be better than others. Not to achieve perfect results. Not to earn recognition or praise, but to honor their own potential. It is a silent, but powerful, promise. I will not give up before discovering the highest version of myself I can become. A promise that needs no audience, only oneself to understand. And if right now, in the quiet of your thoughts, a small part of you feels something shift, as if an old stream is carving a new path, know that it is not an illusion. It is a potential awakening. Not with noise, not with display, but with the quiet certainty that the path ahead is not to prove, but to become. There comes a moment in the journey of growth when a person suddenly realizes something profound. Most of the limits they once believed were real are nothing more than stories the mind tells itself. Stories born from the fear of being hurt, from memories of criticism, from unintentional labels, from the first failures that once made the heart tremble. In her book, Dweck analyzes a powerful truth. A fixed mindset not only confines people in their actions, it confines them in their sense of self. When someone has a fixed mindset, they believe that human worth is tied to perfection, that only when they succeed are they truly deserving of it. However, on the other hand, a growth mindset defines worth through growth, rather than perfection. In this mindset, your value does not vanish when you fail, it simply challenges you to expand yourself. And then, one thing becomes clear. The strongest person is not the one who never falls, but the one who does not let the first fall define their path. Great athletes, artists, scientists, and entrepreneurs, they do not move faster than others. They do not stop where others stop. No one is born perfect. But too many stop too early, before perseverance has a chance to turn effort into skill, skill into strength, and strength into identity. A key characteristic of the growth mindset is its perspective on time. Time is no longer a straight line to measure age or speed of success, it is a space for evolution. People are not slow or fast, they are becoming. And if that becoming takes a year, 5 years, or a lifetime, it is still worth it. For this journey does more than produce results, it creates depth. But the journey of growth is not confined to career or study, it permeates every part of life. In love, a growth mindset helps people believe that others can change, and that they, too, can. No one can rewrite the past, but anyone can write the way they move forward. In relationships, a fixed mindset asks, if the other person makes a mistake, what does it prove about them? But a growth mindset asks, what does this mistake reveal that needs to be understood, healed, and improved? A love based on a fixed mindset seeks perfection. A love based on a growth mindset fosters growth together. In leadership, the power of a growth mindset becomes even more apparent. A leader with a fixed mindset tends to seek control and authority. They need to be right, to be seen as the best, to protect their position. But a leader with a growth mindset is different. They create an environment where mistakes are not hidden, but analyzed, where progress matters more than pride, where teams do not fear failure, but fear standing still. Dweck writes, great leaders create a culture of growth, not a culture of fear. Great leaders do not create fear, they create an environment for growth. And then there is a deeper layer of meaning, one that few truly recognize until they go far enough. Growth mindset is a dialogue with the soul. Because when someone dares to believe they can learn, can change, can create what has never existed, they are affirming a truth of humanity. Potential is not a gift, it is an invitation. An invitation to live not smaller than one's actual ability. An invitation to step out of comfort zones. An invitation to not remain silent in the face of one's own dreams. And sometimes, this journey brings a person to a tranquil, straightforward, yet profound moment. The moment they realize they don't need to be perfect to start. No need for certainty to take a step. No need to be fearless to move forward. The only thing they need is the choice not to give up on themselves. If there is one message the mindset wants to convey, it is this reminder. You are not finished. You are not fixed. You are still unfolding. You are not complete. You are not rigid. You are opening up, layer by layer, step by step, into a stronger version of yourself. And if deep within you there exists a dream, vague, distant, or still without a clear form, that dream is not the end. It is the direction. And then, when the final door opens, a strange silence emerges, not the emptiness of a void, but the silence of awareness, where every pattern of thought and belief is laid bare under the light of consciousness. This is no longer an invitation to understand, it is a challenge to change. Because in the final chapter of this journey, mindset is no longer a psychological concept, no longer a chapter in a book, no longer a research term. It becomes the ultimate mirror, where the viewer, the reader, The human being must face themselves. No one left to blame. No excuses. No defense. Only a simple, inescapable question. Are you living life in a closed frame or an open frame? The difference between the two is not in words or vague thoughts, but in each small choice, every daily reaction, every unseen moment. When a mistake occurs, a closed mind protects the ego. When a mistake occurs, an open mind protects the learning process. When faced with a challenge, a closed mind feels threatened. When faced with a challenge, an open mind feels invited. When others succeed, a closed mind feels envy. When others succeed, an open mind feels inspired. And the scariest part is not that many people operate with a closed mindset, but that many believe they are living with an open mindset, when in reality, they are merely protecting the ego behind subtler masks. Some people say, "I failed because I'm not good enough." But others say, "I failed because I'm not good enough yet, not forever. Just not yet." A small word, but as Dweck writes, "The power of yet." A closed mindset shuts the conversation. An open mindset leaves a door. And the world belongs to those who leave the door open. This is the moment of transformation. Some, upon hearing this, feel exhilarated, as if the body understands before the mind that something more powerful awaits them. Others feel resistance, as if the inner system wants to maintain the familiar order. This is not wrong. It is a sign of a boundary between who a person is and who they can become. Within that resistance lies fear. Within that fear, a message lies. Within that message, there is guidance. Because, as the book says, mindset is not just a belief, it is a living system. A living system, a structure that can expand, adapt, and stretch with challenges, failures, and time. And when someone truly chooses a growth mindset, life begins to change in subtle but profound ways. Not through immediate grand milestones. Not through sudden glory. But through invisible shifts. One day, the fear of failure suddenly lightens. Another day, the body no longer reacts defensively to feedback. Gradually, a thought emerges, fragile yet strong. I can become better. And from that thought, the world shifts. The way they see themselves changes. The way they see others changes. The way they envision the future opens up. An open mindset does not make life easy. It makes a person worth challenging. And then, finally, the observer realizes, life has never demanded perfection. It only demands progress. A little each day. A small step. A part of oneself is expanding. Not to prove anything. Not to become someone else. But to become the version that life itself is waiting to meet. If, at this moment, something in your heart gently stirs, in your mind gently lights up, in your awareness gently shifts, it is not a feeling. It is a transformation. A journey has just ended, but the door, it has only just opened.